Welcome back. This is a recording for lesson 6.5, Solving Proportions. This lesson is a part of Math 020 Pre-Algebra course taught at St. Louis Community College. The recording is made by Dr. Victoria Shearing. In this lesson, 6.5, Solving Proportions, we have three main objectives. We will first define proportions and cross product. We will verify proportions, and then we will solve problems using proportions. Let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start with the formal definition of proportion. A proportion is an equation in the form A over B equals C over D. And we have to specify where B is not equal to 0 and D is not equal to 0. Because they are in the denominators, so we cannot be dividing by 0. So the proportion states that two ratios or rates are equal. The proportion is read as A is to B as C is to D. The second formal definition is the cross product of a proportion. For any proportion in the form A over B equals C over D, where B not equals 0 and D is not 0, its cross products are equal. So that means that if we cross multiply A times D would be equal to B times C. Visually, when you circle those letters, they form a sort of a cross. That's the name of the cross product is derived from. Okay, so for our first skill, we're going to determine if the ratios form a proportion, meaning we will verify a proportion. We will use the cross product. If the cross product is equal to each other, meaning what we have on the left is equal to what we have on the right, we have a proportion. So we are going to look at our first example. And what we're going to do is we are going to use the cross product to verify proportions. So we will have 4 times 30 and 5 times 24. So 4 times 30 should equal to 5 times 24. All right, well, 4 times 30 is 120. 5 times 24 is 120. So the answer is yes. In part A, we have a true proportion because we have the left side equal to the right side. And if you remember when we were working with fractions, these are equivalent fractions because 4 times 6 is 24 and 5 times 6 is 30. So we're going to move on to part B. And here we need to verify the 9 tenths. 9 over 10 is equal 8 over 9. So we're going to use our cross product rule. So we're going to multiply 9 times 9 and 10 times 8. So 9 times 9 on one side, and then a 10 times 8 on the other side. So 9 times 9 is 81. 10 times 8 is 80. So they are not equal to each other. So the 9 over 10 and then an 8 over 9 do not form a proportion. Not a proportion. We will use cross product to solve problems involving proportions. So in our next couple of examples, so we're quickly moving on to our third objective for the lesson, solving problems using proportions. Okay. So we have P over 8 equals negative 30 over 24. All right, so we're going to clear out fractions by using the cross product. Okay, so I'm going to do p times negative 24, and then I'm going to multiply 8 times 30. So let me start over again because the negative sign might be confusing. So going back to, if you recall, in our fraction unit, we said that negative 30 over 24 can be written as negative 30 on top. So you can place the negative sign with the numerator, or you can place the negative sign in the denominator, or you can have it in front of it. So those are the only three ways that a fraction can be negative. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to rewrite this problem, p over 8 equals, and I'm going to bring the negative sign in the numerator, negative 30 over 24. I do highly encourage you to rewrite this problem, especially when you have a negative, so you do not accidentally use negative sign twice. Now when I do my cross product, I am going to multiply p times 24, that's going to be 1, and then 8 times negative 30 is going to be the other one. Okay, so let's go ahead and look. So we have 24p equals, and then negative 30 times 8 is going to be negative 240. All right, and this is a one-step equation. Solving an equation, we always do the opposite operation of what's already here. So if I'm multiplying 24 times p, in order for me to get rid of this 24, I need to divide by 24. Because 24 over 24 will give me 1p, and then I have to divide on the other side by 24. It will have negative 10. So that is your correct answer for this problem, negative 10. All right. Quickly moving on to the next one. In part B, we have 15 over 10 equals 3 over x. No negative signs here, so we're just going to go ahead and use our cross product. So we'll multiply 15 times x, and that will be equal to 10 times 3. So I have 15x, and 10 times 3 is 30. Right? Divide both sides by 15. You will have x equals 2. Moving on to the couple of more examples here. All right. Conveniently, in part C, you have 12 over b equals 8 over negative 9. So the negative sign is already placed in the denominator for us. So all we need to do is do our cross product. 12 times negative 9, b times 8. So 12 times negative 9. I have negative 108, which is the 12 times negative 9, equals 8 times b. All right, so here again, we are focusing on the right side now because that's where our variable is. Sorry. That's where we have our variable. So we're going to divide both sides by 8. And we will have negative 13.5 equals b. So you can rewrite it for convenience sake. B equals negative 13.5. You can also leave it as a fraction if you ask for the exact answer. So you can either do the fraction, you would have to simplify that fraction, or you can use a decimal for the answer. We're going to stick with the decimal for this example. And then the last one, we have 16 over 12 equals 21 over a. So again, set up your cross product. So you will have 16a equals 12 times 21, which is 252. All right. This time I'm going to leave it as a fraction just so I can demonstrate what happens when you leave it as a fraction. So divide by 16. All right. So dividing by 16, so 252 is divisible by 4 and 16 divisible by 4. So you have A equals, because 16, if you divide 252 by 16, you're going to have a decimal number. So we have 252 over 16. So we're going to reduce this fraction. First, we're going to reduce it by 4 and see where that leads us to. So we have 63 over 4. Does not look like we can do a lot more there. So 63 divided by 4 is going to give us 15, which is going to give us 60, and 3 over 4. So that is your final answer, 15 3/4. So we took our improper fraction and converted that to a mixed number. So let's see, I lost my place. We're going to finish this lesson with a couple of word problems. So here we're going to be setting up the proportion. Proportion is set up very similar to ratio. You have to have to ratios, you would have to have the matching units. If you are going to be using one unit on top and the other on the bottom, you're going to have to match that on the other side of the equation. I'll show you what I mean. So let's read our first problem. Example 3. On a map, the distance from Nashville, Tennessee to Atlanta, Georgia is 3.5 inches, and the actual distance is 210 miles. If the map distance between Dallas, Texas and Little Rock, Arkansas is 4.75 inches, what is the actual distance? So we're going to look at the numbers. So we are provided with three numbers, 3.5 inches, 210 miles. Okay. We also have 475 inches, but we do not know how much that is in miles. All right. So let's go ahead and set up the first ratio, 3.5 inches to 210 miles. So that is Nashville, Tennessee to Atlanta, Georgia. That's the first ratio for our two numbers, 3.5 to 210. We're looking at the second one. All we're given inches, so that one is going to go on top, 4.75 inches on top, because that's what we used on top on the left side of the equation. And then we're going to have X miles. So once we set it up, we can drop the units. We need them to guide us where all the numbers go. So we have 3.5 over 210 equals 4.75 over X. All right. So we are going to be using our cross product. So we'll have 3.5X. Right, and then we need to multiply 210 times 4.75. 210 times 4.75. Right, 997 and 0.5. 997.5. Right. At this point, we have one-step equation, so we need to divide everything by 3.5. And we will have X equals 285 miles. That's our answer. Okay, couple of more problems. Example number 4. Didi takes her pulse for 10 seconds and counts 13 beats. How many beats per minute is this. So I have 10 seconds. In 10 seconds, she gets 13 beats. She does not know how many beats. That would be your X, but we have minute. So let's go ahead and make it easier on ourselves. The minute is 60 seconds. Units have to be the same. If you start with the seconds, then you have to convert the minute to seconds. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to have some weird answers. All right, so let's go ahead and set up the first one. I'm going to put the beats on top, so I have 13 beats per 10 seconds. So 13 beats over 10 seconds. And then on the other side, I will have 60 seconds on the bottom, because that's where I use my seconds on the left side. I don't know the number of beats. Okay, so we can drop the units now. I have 13 over 10 equals X over 60. Very simple cross products. I have 10X equals 10X, and then we just need to multiply 13 by 60. 780. Divide by 10 both sides. X equals 78 beats per minute. Last but not least, Evelyn won an election by a ratio of 6 to 5. If she received 7,230 votes, how many votes did her opponent receive? So when we say that the Evelyn won an election, so she got more votes. So I have three numbers, 6, 5, 7 to 30. And then I don't know how many votes her opponent received. All right. So let's go ahead and set the ratio. Remember, she won the election. So 6 would be Evelyn, and 5 would be her opponent. She received 7,230 votes, Evelyn, and an X for opponent. All right, so let's go ahead and just drop the units. So we're looking at the numerical problem only. So I have 6 over 5 equals 7,230 over X. Okay. I'm going to use the cross product. And I have 6X equals 5 times 7,230 gives you 36,150. I'm going to divide by 6. We'll have X, 6,025 votes. All right. So just double check that it makes sense. She did win the election. So she got 7,230 votes. Her opponent naturally got fewer votes, which is 6,025 votes. That concludes our lesson 6.5. Thank you for watching.